Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here. And today, actually yesterday, as the day of recording, the American Abomination aircraft carriers have now entered the game for early access. I was lucky enough to pick up the Delaware in one of the bundles in the armory right now. And, well, today we're going to take a look at the absolute abomination of a line that is the American hybrid battleships. Yes, your eyes do not deceive you if you haven't been keeping up to date with the game. That is a flight deck on a battleship. And it's not the Kearsarge. We have now a whole tech line of these abominations in the game. So, as always, a massive shout out to the channel's Patreons. They are the reason why this review is possible, and all ship reviews on this channel are possible. I am not a CC, nor supported by, nor affiliated with Wargaming in any way, shape, or form. So all the ships on this channel are purchased with funds from the channel, and mainly funds from these very generous Patreon supporters whose names should be popping up on screen right now, or shortly before this section. Patreon is the best way to support the channel besides watching the videos and streams. And again, massive shout out to those guys. Speaking of streams, I will be live streaming tonight right here on the channel and on Twitch, so make sure to come out for that. Alright, so the Delaware. They sure do have planes, and they sure do soar. As always, art department, even though this is a, man-made horror beyond my comprehension, it does look good. Those guys always just knock it out of the park. Even with this weird ship that looks like it would be a high tier unit in like an RTS game or something like that. So let's go ahead and take a look at the Delaware, shall we? If you're wondering, you can pick up, this is the normal premium camo that it comes with, well, not premium camo, perma camo, 200 doubloons, and it looks like the other American battleship camos in the line, so it's appropriate. You can pick up the Delaware's bonus in the bundles as well. I was very lucky to get this as well. It's the normal, tier 9 permanent bonus, 10% to the credits, 100% to the types of XPs, and these are the boosters that I am running on it for this review, just the normal ones that I run on my ships. Now for the armor. So she has a 32mm bow. Her upper armor belt is 38. And then the stern is 32. Deck is 32. Mid deck is 38. Bow deck is 32. Flight deck is 38. And this giant tumor is 19. So very much like the Kearsarge, this is very, very chunky. And I have played the ship a bit already, so I will talk about that, of course, when we get to the review section. And in terms... Oh, wait. I should probably show you what the Citadel looks like. So the Citadel is... Oh, I just deleted it. Well underwater. Not only is it underwater, but it is also behind torpedo protection. So you got kind of a spaced armor effect going on there. So like the American battleships, this thing's pretty rough to Citadel. And let me take a look at the Missouri. Where are you at, Missouri? I think it's even lower. Yeah, it's slightly lower. No, not slightly. It is lower than the Tier 9 counterpart. Because the Missouri has the same armor layout in terms of Citadel as the Iowa. And yeah. That is, wow. That is quite well below the waterline. So good luck with that. But again, with this giant tumor, that kind of makes up for it. Because trust me, this can get easily farmed out. So the aircraft, she has the 81 Sky Raiders, and you get one flight of them every 2 minutes. They have 2,630 hit points. They cruise at 135 knots, and their maximum speed is 172 knots. They do have 20 seconds. Hello, kind. Sorry, but I'm doing a review right now. The boost does get it up to 172 knots. You have a 20-second boost time, 40 seconds for that to recharge. 5 planes in the attacking flight, and then, well, it's all 5, because it's 5 every 2 minutes. Doesn't matter what you do. You lose all planes you lose one plane, it's 2 minutes before you can get these planes back. Now the bombs, each plane has 2 bombs. The maximum bomb damage is 7,300, and they do pin 42 millimeters of armor, which is on the lower-ish side, but they do have a 46% fire chance, so with 10 bombs being dropped and a 46% fire chance base, that's pretty good. Alright, for the guns, you get a really weird setup. You get one dual 406mm turret, and then you get a triple 406mm, well, you get 2 triple 406mm turrets that are of the, well, normal variety here. And they are the 50s. That's interesting. So, okay. I thought these were the 45s. Wow. So they are the 50 caliber turret of the Iowa and not the 45 caliber of the North Carolina. That explains a lot. So in terms of naval artillery, caliber refers to the length of the barrel. See, the North Carolina has a 45 caliber gun, which means the barrel is shorter than the Iowa's 50 caliber gun. So that means that these shells are moving at 762 meters a second instead of the 706 meters a second that you get with the North Carolina. So they're a lot more comfortable to shoot. That would explain why I was very confused as to why those shells weren't taking forever to get to the target. Okay, well, alright. So, for the shell, for the HE, you have a 36% chance of causing a fire with 5,700 maximum damage coming from the HE shell and 68 millimeters of pin, and those come out the tubes at 820 meters a second. The AP does a maximum damage of 13,500 and comes out the tubes at 762 meters a second. She does get the Mark 8 Super Heavy AP shell, so it is a very hard-hitting 16-inch shell. You also get 20 127mm guns with a maximum range of 7 kilometers, and these reload in 6 seconds. Maximum damage of 1,800 and a 5% fire chance on those shells with 21mm of HE pin. And she does get airstrike, believe it or not. She does get the ASW aircraft that Kearsarge doesn't have, so that's nice. Her AA rating is 87. She has 15 dual-mounted 20mm Oerlikons, and then you get 14 dual-mounted of the 76mm guns, and then you get 10 of the secondaries, of course. Well, 10 by 2 of the secondaries, so the 20 secondaries are dual purpose. Maneuverability, she has a maximum speed of 33 knots, a turning circle of 920 meters, and a rudder shift time of 17.2 seconds. Consumables is 16.2 kilometers base. For her consumables, she gets fighter. She does get a fighter, which, I mean, makes sense. It is an aircraft carrier battleship doohickey. And you get repair party, 404 HP per second for 28 seconds, reloads in 80 seconds. And you do get the very nice American 20-second damage con. And like I mentioned, the planes do get the engine boost consumable, the engine cooling consumable. It gives you the unlimited boost for 5 seconds. Alright, so that is the ship. We're going to go ahead and put my commander and module build back on her. I'll meet you guys right here. Alright, so for my commander build, well, you only have the battleship tree, so, well, might as well go with the battleship build. Went with preventive maintenance to give us a 30% reduction to our modules getting incapacitated, the chance of that happening, I should say. Then I went with grease the gears with Halsey here. You get a 25% boost to the turret's 180 time, because having nice maneuverable turrets is, well, nice. Then, of course, Adrenaline Rush, so you can get a boost to your reload time. For every percent of HP lost, you get a 0.2% boost to your reload time. Then I went with Emergency Repair Expert for that extra charge of that heal, and the 10% boost to the action time of the heal and of the damage con. And then, well, I would go up here, of course, and take Basics of Survivability, which gives a further 15% reduction to the module restoration time, fire extinguishing time, and flooding recovery time. And then, of course, pick up Concealment Expert for a 10% boost to your concealment. And then finally, Fire Prevention Expert for a 10% boost to the risk of you catching fire, and a reduction in the maximum number of fires on your ship by 1. For the modules, my school of thought is that this is a battleship with a flight deck. It is not an aircraft carrier with guns. So I committed to it here in the module build as well. Now, you do have access to the plane modules here, so you can, if you want to, take some of those But again, my school of thought is let's just go ahead and go full on with the battleship build and not go with the airstrikes or the air group modifications. So that's my school of thought. Yours can differ, and that's fine. That's just what I did. So we went with main armaments mod 1 to give us a 20% reduction to the risk of main battery becoming incapacitated, along with a 50% boost to the main battery's survivability and another 20% reduction to the main battery repair time. Then we went with Damage Con 1 because fires suck, and this reduces our chance of catching fire by 5% and flooding by 3%. Then we went with Artillery Plotting Room Mod 1, the unique American Battleship module, with a 16% boost to our main battery firing range and a 5% boost to the secondary battery firing range as well, and a 5% reduction to the secondary battery dispersion. Why? Because, well, might as well. Damage Con 2 because fires suck, and well, we have that giant flight deck that's going to track a lot of HE, so this gives us a 15% boost to the extinguishing time for fire and flooding. And then Concealment System Mod 1 for another 10% boost to our ship's detectability and to the plane's detectability as well. And then finally, the unique American Artillery Plotting Room Mod 2, which gives us an 11% boost to our dispersion, which is very, very good. So now the ship, that's going to be the same. The aircraft now have a concealment range of 9 kilometers, and with the fire flag on, our fire chance is up to 47%. The guns now have a maximum dispersion of 276 meters, but their range is out to 25 kilometers now as well. And what else? Oh yes, the maneuverability. We now have 34.7 knots top speed with the speed flag. And concealment is now down to 13.1, which is really darn concealed for a ship with a giant flight deck on it. Alright, I'm going to go ahead, hop over into a game, and meet you guys there with a live voiceover review. Alright guys, voiceover Mountbatten here. Not sure why I said live voiceover in the port section, because this is recorded after playing the matches anyway, so yeah, sorry, after work brain kicking in there pretty hard. So, the Delaware. A couple of things stood out to me about this ship, besides of course the fact that it's a battleship with a air group attached to it. So one of the biggest things, and the replay you are watching in the background right now will show this off pretty well, is that this ship is surprisingly maneuverable. Even on paper, it seems like it has a big turning radius and a pretty long rudder shift time, but it feels really darn maneuverable in game. It definitely feels more maneuverable than the Iowa and the Missouri, which is really weird because normally with these hybrid ships, part of the trade-off for them having their aircraft facility is that they are pretty maneuverable. Like Kearsarge it's fast, don't get me wrong, but it feels like you're turning a continent when you're turning. Now granted, Kearsarge does have another turret and 3 extra guns, so that is a reason as to why it would feel like that. But I mean, this thing still has a full flight deck. You get 5 planes on this too, and you are just 2 guns down from the... I'm sorry, not 2 guns down. You are, what? She has 6 on the front, 2 in the back, 8 guns. You are 4 guns down from the Kearsarge, so maybe that is why the Louisiana has 10, which I'm not paying 20,000 dubs for that one just yet. So it's really maneuverable. It's pretty fast at 34.7 knots. Not as fast as some other Tier 9 ships, but pretty darn fast nonetheless. And the guns are pretty comfortable. If you've played Iowa, you know what to expect here. They are the Iowa's guns, which was pretty surprising to me. So that's what really stood out to me about the Delaware. And the bombs. So, well, obviously the bombers, but the bombs, is interesting what the planes do. So the planes don't dive down. They do that kind of half dive, then glide maneuver. So they're more glide level bombers than they are dive bombers like you would get on the Midway or the other American CVs. But yet, when you drop the bombs, they drop like dive bombs. They drop really fast. They don't hang in the air like most carpet bombers do. So, yeah, that means there's a very short time between them dropping and them getting on target, which makes it very easy to get good, consistent damage out of these planes. I would say, obviously, more so than the Kearsarge, because the Kearsarge only has rocket planes, and the reason why I'm comparing the ship so much to the Kearsarge is because, well, the Kearsarge is the other Tier 9 hybrid American battleship that we have in game at the moment. So you're going to hear a lot of comparison to that. And the fact that the planes get the engine boost consumable on top of, well, the bombs leads to some pretty comfortable planes that you can play with quite well. Now, again, this is without me putting any modules into the planes at all. So these are essentially the stock planes. And despite them being the stock planes, I mean, I don't really need them to survive after the attack. I just need them to get to the target, drop the bombs, then I don't care what happens to them, because again, doesn't matter if you lose all the planes or none of the planes. It's a 2-minute timer before you can get your next flight of aircraft up. So who cares, in my opinion, at least, for building into them. It's not like you have to conserve them or anything afterwards like you do with the CVs. 2 minutes later, you get some more planes. And the way that I play this ship is that I focused mainly on playing as a battleship. I made that mistake with the Kearsarge, where at first I kind of hung back and tried to use it as a sniping ship, but that didn't really work with the Kearsarge because of the 45 caliber guns. Even though you do have the 50 caliber guns here with the Delaware, it's still not that good at sitting back and sniping either, because as we all know, American battleship shells do like to take a hot minute to get to the target, and again, you only have 8 guns instead of 9, like the Iowa and the Missouri, so you're throwing less crap at the target from range anyway. So I would advise you to play these ships as mid to closer battleships like you would any other normal American battleship. So in the game in the background, we get a pretty good example of what this ship can do. Now, this is actually my first game in the ship, so you can see that I do goof up a couple of times with the bombers. But even despite that, I still did quite well, thanks in a pretty large way to the bombers. Why? Just like the Kearsarge, they're a source of good, consistent damage throughout the game, even more so that considering they are bombers and not rocket planes. Now, yes, they do only pin, 46 millimeters of armor, which isn't really that much for Tier 9, but the fire chance is pretty good, almost a 50% fire chance without anything besides one of the fire flags on. You could get it over 50 if you take Demolition Expert and the other fire flag, I do believe, or get it really darn close to 50. So you have a very nice chance of starting fires with 10 bombs per run. In the game in the background, we had a Cyclone roll in, which normally sucks for a battleship in today's high-tier meta because, well, you're stuck at longer ranges, and now the Cyclone rolls in, everyone's got to get close, and it's kind of just a waste of time because by the time everyone does get close, the game is over. But with the Delaware, with the planes, we're able to, keep doing good, consistent damage throughout the match. How good are the planes? Well, in this match, again, it was my first match, and I was still getting used to the way that the bombs fell and such, so you can see in the runs I do about, I think, 2 to 6k damage. In games after this, I was easily able to do around 8 to 9k damage once I got the hang of the plane, so that's a lot of damage to be getting in pretty much guaranteed every 2 minutes. Thanks to the bombs falling a little bit faster, it is pretty easy, again, once you get the hang of them, to drop these on, larger cruisers, heavy cruisers, and the like. Light cruisers, they still generally have enough time to get out the way, but again, if you're someone that maybe has played CV or is just really good with intuition like that, it wouldn't be too hard, in my mind, to get consistent hits on those targets either. So, all this together in the Delaware brings us a really powerful package. I was averaging at least around 120 to 130,000 damage in just about every game with the Delaware, between the good American AP that the ship has and the good consistent damage coming in from the planes. That's not very hard to do in the ship. And I can imagine in the hands of someone that's played both battleship and aircraft carriers on the regular, this is quite the formidable ship. Is it going to get nerfed? I don't know if it's quite that overbearing. It is a little much in my mind to have a ship that's this maneuverable, this well armored, because keep in mind, like, the armor scheme is good too. You have a underwater citadel that you essentially aren't going to get citadeled through unless you have some weird geometry going on every now and then. But again, that is offset by the massive flight deck on top of that. But again, when you're in a close-in situation, most battleships are going to aim for your belt and not really think to chunk you in your flight deck, at least not at first. Maybe after a few weeks, people will finally begin to pick up with that. But from playing Kearsarge, in like 7 out of the 10 brawls that I get into with Kearsarge, they're still trying to chunk your armor belt rather than blab you in the flight deck for like 15k. And then like 3 out of 10, the other guy realizes, hey, I can shoot him in that giant tumor there for like an easy 8 to 9 to 10 to 12k, depending upon how saturated you are in your flight deck for the moment. So overall, the Delaware, I would give this thing, like, honestly guys, an 8 out of 10. It's good. It's really good. Do I like that we're getting more hybrid ships in game with more planes? No, not really, but I mean, hey, it's a good ship. A tier 9 that I was easily able to do 120, 130,000 damage in pretty much every single game that I got that wasn't a complete rollover one way or another. That's pretty darn good. If it had all 9 guns, it probably would be like a 9 out of 10, but that rear turret, man, having that one less gun than the Iowa and the Missouri, it just feels so weird, and it feels like it suffers from dual turret syndrome, where for some reason the shells fly all over the place because it's, you know, a turret with 2 guns. It's a very weird thing that happens from time to time with these dual turret ships, it seems like. But yes, it is a really, really good ship, especially for doing damage. I'd be lying if I told you otherwise. So the pros being, of course, well, it's got the American Super Heavy AP on 16-inch guns at tier 9 with a 30-second reload time. And it does, of course, get the aircraft with the good, consistent damage potential of the bombs. Good armor with a submerged citadel as well. Fast at 34.7 knots with the speed flag. Stealthy with a 13.1 kilometer detection range with a full build. And, I mean, what else do you need on a battleship at tier 9? It does have the American heal and the American damage con as well, that nice 20-second damage con. The cons being, it does have a giant flank deck for HE spammers to farm, or anyone with a 2 cents about them to chunk with AP at closer range. And it does have one less gun than the Iowa and Missouri, and that rear turret is a little wonky at times, in my opinion. So guys, that's my 2 cents on the Delaware. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Hope you guys have a wonderful Friday. Hope to see you guys out on stream tonight on the channel and on Twitch. And lastly, I hope to catch you guys in the next one.